racing games have mainly sought to let players experience the joy of going fast on roads, or at the very least, on land in some fashion. But the thrill of high speed has also expanded to go offshore, with all the qualities that come with racing on water, challenges that Midway sought to capture in 1999 with their arcade classic, HYDROOO Thunder. It also made quite a splash later that same year as a North American launch title for the Sega Dreamcast thanks to Eurocom. As another one of Midway's over-the-top arcade racing crown jewels, HYDROOO Thunder amps up the excitement of speedboat racing to an 11, by infusing it with the developer's brand of crazy tracks, stunts, and visuals, and will leave you with an exciting water ride that you'll never forget. So with introductions out of the way, this is HYDROOO Thunder, a wet, wild, and radical fun time. HYDROOO Thunder is all about racing in boost-powered speedboats on thrilling and treacherous water-based tracks, and smashing through anything that stands in the way between your boat's hull and the finish line before time runs out. You're going to have to keep your boat moving at full throttle to reach checkpoints to add more time to the clock, though occasionally hitting the brakes to turn tighter, or avoid hitting any walls or large obstacles is necessary, especially because you don't turn on a dime in the water. While your boat is crazy fast as is, you can go even faster when its booster is activated, which you deploy and keep fueled with booster pickups laid out on the track. Blue boosters add 4 seconds to the boost gauge, and red boosters add 9 seconds. You can boost as long as there's fuel left, which is replenished by finding more pickups, and running out will disengage the boosters until you find another pickup. Engaging the boosters does take some time before they can activate, so the strategy is to avoid running out completely so you can always instantly boost when you need the extra speed. Boosting also has the added benefit of the mighty hull technique, which knocks aside any of the opponents in your way as you're working up a formidable field of 16 racers. Although racing on water is the point of this game, temporarily skimming over land and jumping into the air are also part of the race. While ramps and huge drops will get you airborne, your boat can also hydro jump whenever you have boost fuel left, by holding on the throttle while tapping the brake and boost buttons at the same time, which comes in handy for reaching things like boosters above sea level. Mastery of the water, land, and air are the only way to reach first place, but so worth it as you look equally fast and crazy crossing the finish line. HYDROOO Thunder's tracks take place on a wide variety of watery locales around the world, turning rivers, lakes, and rapids into thrill rides. If it's an area where water could realistically be found, and in some places where it really shouldn't, it's probably used in one of the tracks. You'll race in environments like a motorboat racing circuit, a tropical jungle, a cavernous rocky canyon, Greek and Venetian canals, and a flooded shipyard. The game's 13 tracks are separated into 4 groups, the first 3 directly tied to the track's difficulty level, and the 4th with bonus tracks of varying complexity. A handful of the tracks are lap-based, but the majority are downstream point-to-point routes with plenty of verticality, usually ending with one big jump at the end, where you'll want to have enough boost left to rocket your way to the finish line. Ramps aren't the only way to gain air time out on the water. Going full speed off the tops of waterfalls will also send you flying. But these aren't the only waterfalls that are of interest. If video games have taught me anything, it's to check behind waterfalls for secrets, as most of them that you can go through lead to shortcuts. Hydro jumping to cut through portions of land or splits on the track, or to reach conspicuous objects above you may also be worth your while, as these often contain invisible boosters, which will make boosting for longer periods possible once you've incorporated their locations into your route. In addition, the most useful but difficult shortcuts are only accessible by hydro jumping to well-hidden openings, oftentimes leading to land-based downhill slopes, which instantly propel your boat forward at max speed, and are sometimes necessary for winning races. They take some practice to approach quickly and at the right angle, but for additional reasons that I'll get into later, they're worth the effort. HYDROOO Thunder may claim that you're burning water in boats, but with the kind of speed and airtime these things are capable of, floating rockets may be more appropriate. You have a choice of 13 superpowered boats, some sticking to that terminology closer than others. Most of them are traditional looking powerboats with sporty designs, others have more in common with aircraft or spaceships, and a few are whatever kinds of boats the developers thought would be fun or cool to have playable. Like the tracks, the boats are also categorized into difficulty levels, or their ease of control, which mostly boils down to the higher the speed, the harder it is to steer. One important thing to note is that the game does scale the speed of your opponents to match your boat of choice, so it's possible to win races with any of them. Alongside how they look, another quality that makes HYDROOO Thunder's boats iconic are their names. most of them having a name that would sound fitting for a boat, but combining with that extreme 90s attitude that was popular at the time, like Tidal Blade and Rad Hazard, which also happen to be two of my favorite boats to race with. The Tidal Blade looks and boosts like it's a fire-breathing dragster, and I love how the Rad Hazard practically slices through the water with its sleek blade-like design. However, I'm the most attached to the Midway. Aside from it being a starter boat that's equally fast and agile, it's also just a really cool looking speedboat. And there's something about its paint job that speaks to me for some reason. Just can't quite put my finger on it. Out of all the Midway arcade racers I've played, HYDROOO Thunder is one of the most visually impressive. Almost everything about the environments and boats are fully modeled with colorful and detailed textures. This of course also includes the look and feel of the water. It's not just some flat blue surface that the boats float on top of. The water has a convincing shimmer effect, uses a few different colors to match the track's environment, and sometimes has proper transparency and reflections. Its waves can be calm or choppy, and the boats react accordingly as they bob and weave with the water's flow, and leave behind a wake as they're moving forward. Compared to the other home console ports at the time, the Dreamcast version was easily the most faithful, both in terms of graphical quality and frame rate, which also means the sense of speed remained intact. So everything looks great and flies by smoothly, especially during those moments when you have plenty of boost and rocket yourself across the water. The game's style of music goes for a cinematic score, with songs that either fit a high-seas adventure film or a natural disaster movie depending on the track, but they all work with the frantic nature of the gameplay. The music on the point-to-point tracks is also dynamic, and different portions of the song plays a bit closer to the finish line. The boats themselves also roar to life with their loud and powerful engine noises, some of them further proving why they could be confused for rockets. And you can't talk about HYDROOO Thunder without mentioning the announcer and the radio crew's one-liners. The announcer sounds like he came right out of a 90s hot new toy commercial, and says every line like it's the coolest thing ever.
HYDROOO Thunder!
I especially love it when he calls me crazy for picking one of the hard boats, and his countdown at the start of a race, where he doesn't just settle for saying go, but
Go, go, go!
Your crew over the radio will commentate on your gameplay, and are more than happy to tell you when your boosters are deployed, set a new record at a checkpoint, and found a secret shortcut. The system check banter from the arcade version's loading screen before every race is sadly missing in action on the Dreamcast, so not only is the wait time silent, but how am I supposed to know if my cup holder's an 8-track cassette player good to go now?
Flight support, go! Oxygen feed, go! Ejection system, we have a go! Cup holder, go! Turn signal, go! Navigation system, go! Speed gauge, go! 8-track cassette player, go! Radar uplink, go!
So when it comes to these console ports of arcade games, it's a toss-up of how much there is to do beyond the original arcade offerings. In HYDROOO Thunder's case, you're basically playing the arcade game on free play, either on your own or with a friend. You start out with the easy tracks and boats, and have to finish these races in third or better to unlock the medium level content. The same rules apply in medium except it's second or better, and the hard difficulty requires first place finishes to start unlocking the bonus tracks. Winning each bonus track unlocks the next, and only when the final track is available will you have access to the bonus boats. So completing the game is simple enough on paper, but not so much in practice. This is still a quarter-munching arcade game after all. It's a good thing there aren't any credits required to try again, because the computer racers still move like there are quarters on the line. For the most part, keeping your boost going without fulling rating empty, and a good line with a shortcut or two will be enough to get third or second on the easy and medium tracks, but the hard tracks require a bit more. Aside from barely having enough time to reach checkpoints, the experts-only tracks demand that you find every shortcut and take them quickly, and not pass up any boosters to keep up with the computer, who aren't afraid to rubber band to keep things close up until the very end. This was especially true on Venice Canals, and doubly so on Nile Adventure. Still, the sense of accomplishment I got from lower times on consecutive attempts, and adding new number 1 times on each track's leaderboards was encouraging enough to keep me going until I got that win. And you can see just how much you're improving along the way. So once you've unlocked everything, in my opinion that's when the real fun of arcade games like this truly start, where you get to race wherever with whatever you want, the only challengers left to face your previous best times, and see just how much faster you've become on all of the tracks. There's plenty of racing games that have conquered the water and waves, but HYDROOO Thunder's stellar gameplay, combined with its loud and rad personality, are what make it so exceptional. The ripple effect this game has left on water racers has been felt multiple times over the years, including an official sequel, whose developers later created their own series of water racing games, and a spiritual sequel by the original arcade game's developers, who also applied their aquatic magic to games like LEGO 2K Drive. The original title holds up very well to this day, and if you have the means to revisit or check out a version of this game, I think you'll have a blast. Or perhaps I should say, a splash. As always, this has been fun, and I'm already looking forward to covering another amazing racing game. So I hope you'll check out what I've got in store for next time, and thank you for watching.